It's Friday, December 7th, 2018. I'm Paul Huckalak. Welcome to TV7.ca News. Today, we talk about the latest consensus results. We meet a local jeweler, and St. Albert Sports and Rec is looking for some new members. But first, only 2 of the 6 members of the city's Public Art Advisory Committee reside in St. Albert? Well, you heard that correctly. The volunteer committee that advises the city with regards to its public art collection is currently underrepresented by local citizens. In addition, the committee also has 3 vacant seats. According to City Councillor Natalie Jolly, both these facts were a surprise to her when she heard from the city administration.
It was new information for me when I found out, yes. Well, both that there were non-residents on the committee and that we didn't have a full committee. So I didn't know either of those things until I started looking into it. It's not, the policy doesn't require that members be residents of St. Albert. So there's no requirement the way the policy is set up right now.
Councillor Jolly went on to explain what the committee does.
Well, there's a public arts committee that is handled by administration, and they have a role in managing our art collection and certainly in selecting public art.
If you are interested in volunteering for this committee and you have experience in art or architecture, you can forward your name by visiting the city's website. They meet every 4th Wednesday from 9:30 to 11 a.m.
I would love to see more people apply to be on the committee. That was the gist of my Facebook post. Is right now we have 3 vacancies, and although I'm trying to get rid of this committee and replace it with something different, this opportunity exists right now.
Fountain Park Pool celebrates its 40th birthday this year. St. Albert's first indoor swimming pool opened in 1978, and since then it has been the center for the community, providing swimming lessons, aquatic fitness classes, and family pool fun. The city invites residents and visitors to join the celebration of the pool's 40th anniversary on Saturday, December 8th from 1 to 5 p.m. Your $2 admission fee gets you lane and public swimming, face painting, fun activities, treats, and refreshments. TV7.ca will be live streaming the Sip Shop and Slippers event on December 19th from 1 to 7 p.m.
Sip Shop and Slippers is a local event where we're going to be streaming live from TV7 throughout the city of St. Albert, featuring different local vendors and artisans just before Christmas. So you could stay at home and enjoy have your slippers and drink your tea, coffee, or a glass of wine. And then we're going to be doing an event where you could kick off your slippers and come hang out with us for an after party.
Join us throughout the day when we will be visiting various local locations and highlighting their last-minute Christmas specials. Or come to the after party at Confections Cake Co. at 7 p.m.
Yes, we're going to be having specials, promos all day, so you can shop local. You don't have to leave the city and last minute within the St. Albert area. Support your local vendors, your local artisans, and just help support your community.
And again, this event will be streamed live on TV7.ca. If you want more information, or if you'd like to participate in this event, drop us a message on our Facebook page. The City of St. Albert has released its in-depth analysis of the 2018 Municipal Census this week. The report provides detailed information on the city's overall population, population by neighborhood, housing, employment, mother tongue, and census methodology. Earlier this year, the city announced St. Albert's population had reached over 66,000 people. This represents an increase of about 719 people per year. And according to the executive summary, the census received an overall response rate of over 99%. The report broke down the population by the 29 neighborhoods in our city, with Grandin and Lacombe Park being the largest. Well, as you probably already knew, the residents of St. Albert, 78% of us, primarily live in single detached homes. And this isn't a surprise for those of us that struggle with the commuter traffic every morning. About half of the working population work in Edmonton. You can find the 2018 St. Albert Census Executive Summary on the city's website. The St. Albert Sports and Rec League is looking for some new teams for the next season.
We are the only multi-sport adult co-ed fun league in St. Albert. We play sports every Sunday, and being that we're a multi-sport league, we play a different sport every Sunday. So we play volleyball, basketball, floor hockey, soccer ball, we curl, we've done some yoga, we've done some spin classes, we do handball, flag football, ultimate frisbee, dodgeball, you name it, we'll try it.
If you're looking for a fun way to get out of the house this winter, you just might want to check them out.
Fun is very important because fun is what we are all about first. We all have jobs and other things we have to do, so we're not a super competitive league. We're always out for a good time, and fun being the best priority. So you let other people take a shot when you know it's going to go in. You involve everybody and try to move the ball around through everybody on your team.
They have openings for entire teams or individuals and couples.
So we have some big space. We have a few teams that have taken the next season off. So we have 2 full team spots open, and we're looking for about 10 new players. So we have 2 opportunities. You can put together your group of people and join us, or you can sign up as an individual, and we will find a team for you.
They play every Sunday, with the earliest start time being 4:30. If you're interested, you can check them out on their website.
You know what? If you're looking for something new to do, great Christmas present idea. It's a lot of fun. A lot of couples get involved. Instead of buying a present, maybe get out and do something together that's active and fun. And if you're interested in meeting new people, we're the spot to give a shot, to give a try.
And coming up, we talk about the CRA scams making their rounds. Mayor Kathy Heron discusses how public art is selected. And we meet a local jeweler whose creations are designed for different chapters of your life. All that and more after this short break.
Nothing is funnier than a box full of puppies. And despite our best efforts, we can't compete. TV7.ca. Slightly less entertaining than a box full of puppies.
Sentimental Gems celebrates life's chapters and inspires manifestation practices by creating jewelry and crystal kits to align with thought-provoking affirmations. And they are today's Business Spotlight.
Sentimental Gems is celebrating the chapters in our life, whether they be the good ones or the bad ones, and recognizing the sentimental value in the chapters that we live and go through. Primarily jewelry, but I do a lot of tumbled stones and crystal kits. So I make kits around different occasions. So if you're celebrating a new mom or a new house, I make collections of crystals based around the occasion that you're celebrating, based on how they were used in history. So in Egypt, the Egyptians used to give new moms amethyst and rose quartz when they were delivering. So I make a new mom kit with all the stones based around that mythology. Or kits around feng shui. So I'll put together crystals for a new house and how to put them in your house based on traditional feng shui to optimal increase of vibrations in your house. I have been into gems since as young as I can remember. My mom has stories about her finding them in her washing machine or dishwasher too. Don't ask. Also my aunt's a geology professor at U of T, so when I was there to go visit, I felt like I was walking into this beautiful fairyland full of geodes and crystals, and ever since then I've just had this attraction to them, and learning how they've been used in history and the science behind them has really been intriguing for me, and I just dove in. It's just been a hobby that now has turned into this. Coro Collective is going to be my main brick and mortar, so you can find all of my jewelry creations here and some of the crystal kits as well. I do teach at the Canadian Healing Institute down on Perron Street, and they'll be housing all of my tumbled stones, rocks, and the kits as well there. And I do have various locations throughout the city that carry more of my one-of-a-kind collections, and you can find that on my website.
Well, have you been contacted lately by the CRA threatening your arrest? On today's Financial Focus, Crystal Lucier talks about common CRA scams.
I want money.
Today we're talking about CRA scams. You know the ones that are happening. The phone call that you get that tells you that you owe tax money, that there's a warrant out for your arrest, and that the police will be coming to your house. Make sure that you protect yourself. These are not actual calls from CRA. CRA will never ask you for your credit card information, your passport, your banking information on the telephone. They will also never tell you that they're going to come and arrest you. You'll always receive a number of notifications before any action is ever taken. You can sign on to My Accounting through the CRA web. You can register online. A piece of information will come to you through the mail with a special PIN code giving you access to your online database through CRA. This is helpful because you can receive all of your mail online, and you can ensure that if there's a change of address, you can make that change through your database and it's immediately with CRA. You can also give them your bank information through that secure window into their database in the case of a direct deposit change. CRA would never ask you for that information over the telephone, and they most certainly wouldn't ask you for prepaid business cards, such as Starbucks and Chapters, as other people are saying that they're getting calls for. Another important item is to always protect your social insurance number. You shouldn't necessarily be carrying this card with you all the time. This is an important piece of information that identifies you as a Canadian, and you require it for CRA. Make sure that you're protecting yourself from scammers. If something happens and you are contacted, make sure that you report it to CRA. You can report to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. You can do that by phoning 1-888-495-8501 and letting them know what your circumstances are and the number that showed up on your caller ID. Make sure you're protecting yourself. This is Crystal Lucier with TV7.ca.
I want money.
Michael Cooper talks to TV7.ca's Lisa Ruffiange about why Wynn's Law was not passed.
Can you touch briefly on your involvement in Wynn's Law? What exactly the wording was that created this little bit of a loophole, and how Wynn's Law was supposed to come in and make that just a little bit more, not as easy to circumvent the system?
Sure. Well, Wynn's Law, of course, arises from I would say, one of the most tragic events in St. Albert's history, which
Agreed.
was the shooting of Constable David Wynn, who lost his life in the line of duty, and Auxiliary Officer Derek Bond, who was shot, and although he survived, his life has forever changed for the worse.
Mm-hmm.
And the individual who was out on who committed that horrendous crime was out on bail at the time, and when his record was pulled, the question was asked how it was possible that this guy was out on bail. He had more than 50 prior criminal convictions, numerous outstanding charges, numerous failures to appear. RCMP Commissioner Paulson asked how it was he was walking amongst us at the time. One of the reasons he was because of the fact that none of that history had been disclosed at the bail hearing. One of the reasons why it wasn't is because, as you mentioned, there was a loophole in the criminal code that provides that the criminal history of a bail applicant may be presented at a bail hearing. May rather than shall. So
One little word would have made all the difference.
And that was the change that Wynn's Law would have proposed to change may to shall.
Now, despite passing first and second reading, ultimately the bill was not upheld.
Yeah.
What do you think was the reason behind that? From someone like myself and our viewers from the outside looking in, it seems to be such a no-brainer to, when you're put in a situation where when you know better, you do better. This loophole has existed for enough time that it's perpetuated the death of one of our local officers. Why was this not accepted into, why was this bill not passed?
Yeah, I think for a few reasons. I think politics definitely played a role. As an opposition member, it's very tough to get the government on side on anything.
Okay.
In fact, my bill, I believe, is the only private member's bill that passed at any stage through the House of Commons that was officially opposed by the government.
Okay.
27 Liberal MPs broke ranks at second reading. And that happened because I worked hard to lobby them, and more importantly because of Shelley McInnes Wynne,
Right.
the widow of Constable Wynne, who just showed such courage in speaking out, who coming to Ottawa, appearing in many public forums, which was not an easy thing, but she did it and it had a real impact. And so politics was definitely one factor. The other was that when it got to committee, prosecutors didn't necessarily like it because they said, don't tell us how to do our job. Defense lawyers didn't like it for perhaps more obvious reasons.
Sure.
And then there was the broader question of would this result in delay. I thought the question of delay, it was a pretty weak argument. After all, this information is for the most part readily available electronically through CPIC, but nonetheless that seemed to be the main card that the government held up as the basis upon which to defeat the bill ultimately.
To watch the full interview, please check out our Facebook page. And finally, Mayor Kathy Heron talks about how public art is selected.
One of the other things I wanted to touch on was some of the recent criticism that has come on social media, mostly, with regards to the art installation at the St. Anne Street roundabout. A lot of the residents have raised concerns that not just the cost of the installation, but the origin of the artist not being considered local talent. Is there anything that you can speak to put residents at ease with regards to where the funding for that comes from and how the program is integrated to help perpetuate the careers of local artists?
I feel like there's two parts to that. So the funding for public art comes from a policy that allocates about 1% of our capital projects. When we do, $20 million of capital every year, but 1% of that is put in a reserve towards art in public places. So when asked, I always say I completely support that policy and the fact that St. Albert prioritizes public art, because it's part of our brand. And the social media attention that we got kind of almost highlights it, because there was some anger that it was a Quebec artist. And I thought about it for a second. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Why isn't it local? It would have been. And so we've had good conversations with our culture department. And when you think about it, it makes sense. Local artists were absolutely invited to put in a proposal for this. And if we were to limit only local artists, we would have probably had a nice piece of art. Yet, if every city across Canada limited it to their own local artists, how does that make my local artists competitive nationally or internationally? Right? I want my local artists displayed in Quebec. So some of them will put in a proposal in a Quebec city, and hopefully they'll be chosen. And I will cheer for them, because that's what their ultimate goal is to be recognized across Alberta, across Canada, and hopefully internationally. Right. So I would never restrict talent from coming into our city. There's that project particularly was enveloped in public participation. We spent the entire summer, we set up at the farmers market and other places across the city, Service Place, wherever there's people, asking for their opinion. We had this dot voting system. You could vote where you wanted the public art to go. So the roundabout was one place, but there was Kingswood Park was another choice, and there's a couple different places. So people chose where it was going to go. And then in September, at the end of that summer, we had a big session at the Art and Theatre. I went, and there was a couple hundred people in attendance. The 4 finalists presented their ideas, and everyone there got to vote. And so the committee took all that into consideration before they chose this artist. So if you really want to have a say and you really want your local artists, you're going to have to come and participate in these kind of things because they're fun. And you can say, I got to choose that piece of art, or I didn't choose that one, that wasn't my favorite, but I was part of the process. So I want to continue with that kind of public participation when we choose art.
Right, that does make sense to try to give local artists the platform, and we can't talk out of both sides of our mouths saying we want local artists to be recognized internationally, but then we not give international artists the same consideration.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes
Said
sense.
it very well. Yeah.
To watch the full interview, please check out our Facebook page, our website, or our YouTube channel. And that's it for today. If you have any news tips or community events you'd like to share, please message us on Facebook or drop us an email at news@tv7.ca. For all of us at the channel, I'm Paul Huckalak.